Am I wrong for divorcing my ex-wife because she pressured me for kids, and now refusing to play father to her son, even though she says he needs me? Hey Reddit, I plus here. My name's Martin, I'm 47 now, and if there's one lesson life has drilled into me, it's this. You can either live the life that belongs to you, or let others dictate it for you. I chose the first path. The price? My marriage, most of my family, and any hope of making peace with people I once believed would always stand by me. I married my ex-wife, Sylvia, when I was 27 and she was 26. We'd met right after university, working at the same financial consulting firm. In the beginning, it was great. She was sharp, ambitious, witty, and I admired her more than I could say. But there was always one unspoken thing lingering between us. Kids. I never wanted them. Not since college. My dream was to build a life that gave me freedom. To retire early, travel, live simply, and never be tied down to responsibilities I didn't choose. Children didn't fit into that picture. Back in her 20s, Sylvia wasn't sure. She used to laugh off the idea of motherhood, saying she wanted freedom just like I did. And for a while, I believed her. But people change. By the time we hit 30, she began dropping hints. At first, it was harmless, showing me pictures of friends' babies, talking about our nieces and nephews, making little jokes about someday when it's our turn. Then the hints grew sharper. One night, I found a copy of The Joy of Fatherhood sitting on my nightstand, bookmark planted right in the middle, like a challenge. Finally, I sat her down and asked straight out, "Do you want kids, Sylvia?" She hesitated, then admitted yes. The idea had grown on her, and she wanted family. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just felt this hollow ache, because I knew neither of us would bend. She wasn't giving up motherhood, and I wasn't changing course on fatherhood. So I did the hardest thing I could. I told her we needed to divorce. She cried, begged me to reconsider, even try bargaining. Maybe just one. You'll change your mind once you hold your baby. But I knew forcing it would destroy us both. If I became a father against my will, resentment would poison everything. And if she gave up being a mother, she'd resent me forever. The divorce dragged on nearly 2 years. Messy, painful. She never wanted it. I did. I thought letting her go was an act of kindness, freeing her to find someone who shared her dream. She saw it as betrayal. Years passed. I dated here and there, but nothing lasted. Then, 4 years ago, I met Helena. She was different. Steady where I was restless, practical where I was idealistic, but just wild enough to share my dream of traveling light and living on our own terms. Best of all, she never wanted children either. To me, that felt like a miracle. I thought Sylvia had moved on, but last year she reached out, asking to meet for coffee. Helena actually encouraged it, thinking it might close old wounds. So I went. Sylvia looked older, worn down, but still had that sharp edge I remembered. She told me she hadn't remarried, but she did have a son. The father wasn't in the picture. Her whole face lit up when she spoke about him, and I was genuinely happy she'd gotten what she wanted. Then she asked if I would step into his life. "He needs a stable male figure," she said. "You were always so responsible, Martin." I froze. I told her no, kindly but firmly. I was glad for her, but I wasn't interested. That's when the conversation shifted. She suggested we get back together, be a family. I reminded her I was engaged and that our time was long past. When she started tearing into Helena, calling her selfish and gold-digging, I walked out. But it didn't stop there. She bombarded me with messages until I blocked her. Then she somehow got Helena's number, accusing me of cheating with her during that coffee meeting. Thankfully, Helena just laughed, blocked her too, and moved on. Then came my sister, Janet. She showed up at Helena's place with her kids in tow, demanding to be let in. It was cold out, and the kids had no coats. So Helena let them in, made coffee, and braced herself. Janet wasted no time. She told Helena that if she truly cared for me, she'd step aside. That my real family was with Sylvia and her son, and Helena was just a distraction. She even had the audacity to say my money would be better spent supporting Sylvia and her child. Helena laughed right in her face. When I found out, I called Janet immediately. I told her she was out of her mind. Sylvia's child wasn't mine, never would be, and Helena was my future. Janet claimed she was protecting me, saying I was under Helena's spell and couldn't see what was best. That was it. I cut ties with her, with Sylvia, and with every so-called friend or relative who sided with them. My phone's been quieter than ever, and honestly, it feels like freedom. People can call me selfish. They can say I should have compromised, that I robbed Sylvia of a proper family, but I have zero regrets. Children aren't something you compromise on. If you want them, you need a partner who shares that dream. And if you don't, no one has the right to push you into it. I won't sacrifice my life for someone else's vision. And I won't raise a child that isn't mine out of obligation to an ex. For once, I chose myself. And when I look at Helena, my partner, my equal, my soon-to-be wife, I know I chose right. I thought cutting ties with Janet would end it. I underestimated her. 2 weeks later, she showed up at my house. I opened the door to find her standing there, arms crossed, jaw tight like she was preparing a courtroom speech. "Martin," she said, "I can't believe you're throwing away your real family for that woman." I sighed. "Janet, I'm not doing this again. Helena is my future. Sylvia is my past. And her son is not my responsibility." Her eyes blazed. "You walked away from Sylvia when she needed you most. Now you're abandoning her child. You're selfish. You think retirement, travel, your so-called freedom," she spat the word like poison, "matter more than blood?" Something in me snapped. Blood. My voice rose. That boy is in my blood. He is my child. I didn't bring him into this world. And Sylvia made her choices after I left. Don't you dare put that on me. Janet shook her head, almost pitying me. "You'll regret this. One day, when you're old and alone, you'll wish you had a family. You'll wish you'd raised a child who would care for you when no one else does." I stepped closer, lowering my voice so she couldn't mistake my conviction. "No, what I'd regret is living a lie, forcing myself into a life I never wanted, just to please people who don't have to live it. If being alone is a cause of staying true to myself, so be it." Her lips pressed into a thin line, but she didn't argue. She muttered something about me being lost and walked away. That was the last time I saw her. That night, Helena curled beside me on the couch, running her fingers through my hair while I stared blankly at the TV. "You okay?" she asked softly. "I'm fine." I lied. "No, you're not." She tilted my chin so I had to meet her eyes. "You just cut off your sister. That's not nothing." I exhaled slowly. "I know, but it feels like the only way forward. I've spent my whole life trying to please people. First Sylvia, then Janet. If I keep bending, I'll break. And I can't afford to break. Not now. Not with us." She smiled faintly. "You're stronger than you realize. You know, I've never met a man so willing to lose everything rather than compromise his truth. That's one of the reasons I fell in love with you." Her words soothed me. For the first time in weeks, I felt peace. But peace came at a cost. My phone went silent. No more group texts from cousins. No more calls from old friends. Even my parents, usually neutral, began to distance themselves, saying they didn't want to get involved. It hurt. Of course it did. Family isn't supposed to disappear because you won't meet their expectations. But I realized something. I wasn't living in their shadow anymore. The only voices in my life now were the ones I chose to hear. One evening, Helena and I sat on the balcony with glasses of wine, the city lights flickering below. She leaned against my shoulder and whispered, "Do you ever wonder what life would have been like if you'd stayed with Sylvia?" I let out a bitter laugh. "Yeah, I think about it sometimes. I would have been miserable. She would have resented me. And that poor kid, he'd grow up with a father who didn't even want to be there. That's not love. That's cruelty disguised as duty." Helena kissed my cheek. "Then you did the right thing, even if no one else sees it." I wrapped an arm around her and held her close. For the first time in years, I wasn't haunted by the what-ifs, the noise, the accusations. It all faded against one truth. I had chosen my path. And for once, it felt like the right one.